When we talk about ascending and descending, it's good to say what's ascending, what's descending, or who's ascending and who's descending. So I alluded to the term Shiv, which is consciousness, also known as Purush. But whenever we talk about this level of being, Shiv, we have a consort to Shiv, which is Shakti, or Purush, and the consort there is Prakriti. So Purush, or Shiv, is considered source consciousness, your consciousness, and your consciousness is one with the infinite consciousness. So Paramahansa Yogananda and other great yogis talk about that Shiv is the consciousness. Shakti is the energy that emanates from it. It comes in through, Yogananda says, through the medulla oblongata, but basically imagine it coming down through the top of your tube. The chakra system is a tube from the crown to the tailbone. The energy comes down first. So when we talk about chakras, we often talk about from the bottom up. But if you actually think about it, the order of manifestation from source to form is actually from the top down. So it seems like, bless you, like you, the consciousness, become a body, but you've never become a body. You've always been spirit. So tonight, let's really focus on who we are as spirit. So in that sense, ascending has nothing to do with the life force energy at this point. It has to do with you putting your attention deep back, in and up. You might feel like you're going forward. You might feel like you're going back into it or straight up. It's not out of your body. It's into your consciousness. So if you imagine the conscious energy coming into the body, it wants to loop back up through. However, it goes down to the tailbone. It looks up and it's like, there's a lot of blockage up there. And it basically goes into a holding pattern. And we call this Kundalini Shakti, but in its dormant state. So all the stuff that we're doing is meant to slowly, safely awaken that energy. Right? We're working to clear the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which of course the miracle says is your natural inheritance. And then as the blockages are clearing, the Shakti can start to rise up. So when we did some breath work earlier, right, you start moving some of the energy. The Qigong is moving that energy. When you put your attention up here, the energy is going to follow and try to meet you there. So in Chinese medicine, we say wherever energy goes, blood follows. But wherever consciousness goes, energy goes, and then blood follows. So in Chinese medicine, you could actually, I haven't seen it done, but when I was in school, I heard it was done. You could put the acupuncture needles to the opposite flow of the qi and then actually amputate a hand. Because the theory is you can stop all sensation, blood, and energy moving to that part of the body. Again, I've never seen it done, but the model is consciousness goes somewhere. Wherever you put your attention, your energy will follow. And you could say blood will follow, but don't worry about the blood part. Just wherever consciousness goes, energy follows. So when you start making the seat of the soul the primary point of meditation, at least in the evenings, the life force energy is going to try to rise up to meet you there. Therefore, you really don't have to do anything, but just put your attention on spirit. When you do, the Shakti is going to try to follow, but it can't. It can't easily because there's blocks in the system. So what are the blocks? Usually just your emotions, right? You feel something that's uncomfortable. The question is, what do you do with that something that's uncomfortable? When we don't know what to do, we take the power of our will, which emanates from consciousness itself. So if you think about like what's moving this hand, not the hand itself, consciousness is through mind. Mind is the activating agent of spirit and of course in miracles, but it's the power of the will that chooses what's going to move and what's going to not move. When an emotion comes up, right, emotion, energy in motion, when you don't know what to do with it, you tend to push it down. So you've never thought about that. If you suppress an emotion, what's the force that's suppressing emotion? It's your conscious will. You want to, in deep meditation, withdraw the will so that your will is basically just to observe, not to manipulate or control the energy in any way. So when emotion or just any feeling is coming up, remember, in case you need to remember or know if you don't know, rule number one, don't suppress. never push down an emotion ever again. If you're meditating, trying to move into higher spiritual states, but you're still bottling up the flow of your life force, it's very counterproductive. So rule number one, when you feel something come up, any emotion, positive, negative, whatever it is, don't suppress it as you're meditating in this higher space. Develop what's called the seat of the soul, or the witness, the observer, the knower. That's the you that cannot be cut or burned, wet or withered. That's the you that's always at peace under all circumstances. So I wrote a book called Peace Under All Circumstances, right? And if you don't practice that before stuff happens, then you're already caught up in the human and you're already lost. Practice tonight finding this seat of the soul, and then whatever happens, remember this is spiritual lifestyle training, whatever happens in life, don't see it as problematic, see it as an opportunity to clear your blockages. So if somebody triggers you, somebody pushes your buttons, thank you. Thank you for showing me that something is inside of me that's not okay, something that feels uncomfortable. Instead of dropping from the seat of the soul and thinking you need to fix it, just automatically pull back and watch. So tonight's practice can be getting in touch with that higher space of consciousness. Once you're sitting there, you can look up, right? You can ascend even higher than this region, up, 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 up. You can forget everything below. Just turn the attention inwards, turn the light around, and focus on spirit. So do that tonight. But once you get that seat of the soul, then you could also look down. You can see what's happening in the chakra system, what's happening in the human. And remember, you're not a human being, right? You're a spiritual being having a human experience. And the human has emotion that comes up. Withdraw the will to stay conscious whenever something's happening. When the life force comes up, it hits what a lot of you now know are called sanskars, the blockages in our system. And what are sanskars? Basically memories, beliefs, and emotions, right? Traumatic events happen, or lots of events happen, but the traumatic ones make imprints in the psyche. Again, the yogis call these sanskars, or you hear them in the West pronounced like sanskaras or samskaras, but in India it would just be like sanskar. So the sanskar, again, is a memory, a set of beliefs, and a set of emotions. When you get triggered, that's somebody who pushed that button. What happens, though, in the yogic model is the life force hits that sanskar, and it flares up, and now you've got your stuff in your face. Imagine that's like pieces of stained glass, and the Shakti itself is pure white light. But when it hits a piece of stained glass, it moves through it, and now if that glass was red, right, this pure white light is now red. And imagine that's your anger. Remember, never push that back down, or you're making the sanskar thicker, you're making the blockage thicker. You can never hear this enough, right? Because we're always triggered in life. And the theme is, hear these kind of teachings over and over, get established in the seat of the soul. So when something hits that red anger blockage, or whatever it is, sadness, grief, guilt, shame, fear, hurt, sadness, whenever that comes up, pull back into that higher space that you develop in meditation and withdraw the will to just observe. So rule number one, don't take the will and suppress it and bottle it up. Rule number two is don't act out on it. Don't express it. If you take the emotion, you say, I'm angry, I'm going to get it out of my system. You start venting, you start yelling. What happens to that blockage? It actually gets reinforced. It never goes away by letting it out of your system. You say, but I felt better afterwards, right? I let the steam out. I told him how pissed I was, and I feel better. But what happens tomorrow when he does the same exact thing, right? Or you're more mad or less mad? You're more mad if you say, don't you ever do that again. And they do it again. You're like, don't you ever push my button because that hurt. Don't ever do that again. When they do it again, you're more mad. That's one way to explain how expressing emotion, venting how we feel, letting the personal self run your life is a great way to actually keep the blockages. So rule number two, don't act out on your stuff. Rule number three is what to do. Rule number three is basically keep your body relaxed while stuff is coming up. So tonight, I hope you feel nothing but bliss, peace, light, love, joy. But if you're sitting in meditation and you notice, oh, my lower self. So what's the lower self? the body, the emotions, and the mind. Who's the higher self? You. You're the higher conscious observer. Is there something higher? There's always something higher, even in conversation with God. Neil Donald Walsh says, am I talking to God? And he's like, yeah. God's like, yeah. He said, really? He said, I'm talking to God? He said, yes, you are. He said, God the Most High? And God says, yes, and there's always something higher. So there's always something higher. But when you think you're a human and you say, I have a higher self, you're misled. This is a body. It's not you. You're the higher self observing a lower self. This is your human being, right? This is my body. It's not me, right? They're my emotions, they're not me. It's my mind, it's not me. So who's the me? The observing consciousness. Okay, so rule number 3, what to do. When you feel something come up inside of you, relax your body, because when you're tensing and trying not to feel it, you're actually blocking the flow of the energy. Okay, so we're learning to relax, to observe, and we're learning a lot about the breath during this training this weekend. So when something's coming up, when you feel something, keep breathing into it. Just, all right, there it is. My human is upset. Okay, fine. Whatever the form of the upset is, doesn't even matter. You just observe, breathe, and feel. That's really the whole teaching. Relax your body, breathe, and feel. It's about allowing, surrendering, instead of manipulating and controlling. The priority, again, remember this morning we talked about the priority of spirituality. The priority is liberation, moksha, enlightenment, freedom, not to make that person never bother you, and not to make this thing never get triggered or feel bad. All right, so when something happens and you have something come up, maybe you have to do with life, but the moment you can get on the meditation cushion, that's where you can really practice this. And again, you might not feel upset tonight. I hope not. We're doing our best. But you're still practicing. I remember Mickey gave this talk, and he said, you know what spiritual practice is? What are you practicing for? You're practicing for life, right? Spiritual lifestyle training. You're practicing for life. So when you go and sit on the cushion, you're not just blissing out just because you can kind of easily meditation, focus on the higher chakras, feel the presence of spirit. And that's great. But you're also developing the seat of the soul so you could observe the lower self. When the lower self gets triggered and something comes up, say, great, that's an opportunity to clear another blockage. Have you ever done a ropes course? Anybody know what that is? We go out into the forest and they have ropes and ladders and I don't know how to explain that, all sorts of weird contraptions, but you're strapped in, you're safe, but it pushes you and usually a team of people to your limit. So there was a telephone pole, you have to climb up it, no problem. I felt really confident getting up there. There's this little disc that pivots and you have to stand on the top of a telephone pole on a really precarious little disc. Now, there's 4 people on belay, I think is what they call it, when you have the rope strapped to you. So you got 4 people holding you. You can't fall and get hurt. But your body on that human primitive level doesn't totally know that. So I'm standing up there, 40 feet above the ground, and my legs started shaking. But my programming kicked in on what to do with fear. I'm like, oh, fear, how exciting. Instead of, oh God, I don't want to feel this. It was cool to see the human getting scared. Anxiety basically is trying not to feel it. Oh no, I don't want to be scared. You're afraid of your fear. You can get rid of half of your anxiety the moment you stop suppressing your emotions, because you're not afraid of them anymore. Like, cool, anger's coming up, wonderful. Again, don't vent it, don't block it. What happens when you just sit on the seat of the soul and watch? The Shakti that came down, or the prana, whatever you call that, wants to come back up. And that's the force pushing your stuff up. Remember, that force is essentially God, right? That's the light of God. If you're suppressing, you're fighting with God. You're going to lose. Right? This is an infinite force that'll never stop moving through you. But when there's a blockage, it'll never stop hitting the blockage. So when you feel anything in meditation, instead of just ignoring it and focusing in and up and being like, I just want to go to the light. Remember in our school, we talk about Debbie Ford's wonderful book, The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. Don't just chase the light like we're going to do tonight. We're going to focus on light and love and peace and joy and bliss and oneness, divine consciousness. But also remember, while you can look up, you could also look down. And you're looking at the human. Now, you're at peace under all circumstances because you are peace, right? You are peace. The human's not always at peace, right? Doesn't feel good physically, mentally, or emotionally. Just observe that when you meditate. Relax your body, keep breathing. What happens is the life force hitting the blockage flares it up, but actually starting to burn it away. Just the way your body knows how to heal itself, your heart knows how to heal itself, if you just leave it alone. But you break it, you buy it, you touch it, you own it. As soon as you do something with it, you're manipulating the energy. It's important to remember the Shakti, the life force, is smarter than you are. Right? That is infinite divine intelligence, and it's actually working to liberate you. But I think a lot of people don't realize every time you suppress an emotion, you are again fighting with that force. So you just pull back, you observe. It starts getting uncomfortable inside because the energy is there. God, I'm so mad. But you're not doing anything about it. You're just breathing and letting the human be upset. If you just observe, and a really nice tip that comes more from Course in Miracles, if you don't want something, whatever you want to call God, but the Holy Spirit is usually the term for this, say, Holy Spirit, I don't want to take it. You just pull back and literally let it go passing by. This will start happening for all your sanskars of this lifetime. Eventually, it starts happening for past life sanskars. So I remember a stage of my growth, I've looked at 14 different past lives, most of them many times. And I remember one time in meditation, it felt like 3, because I could see kind of the memories, but it wasn't the details. It was just 3 horrible past life sanskars coming up. And like, this is horrendous, the imagery that's in my head and the feeling. And I just went right to the same teaching. It doesn't matter the order of degree of the discomfort. Pull back, observe, and let it float by. But literally, if you're like, God, you take it. I don't want it. The Course in Miracles says the Holy Spirit will always accept that invitation if you're willing to let it go. All right, but if you're holding on to it, if you're fighting with it, you're suppressing it, you're trying to control it, you get to keep it. But when you just surrender and let go, it might take 5, 10, 20 minutes. We have hypnotic techniques, eye movement therapy. We have things to speed up that process. But when you're sitting in meditation, you really don't want to use techniques. You just want to practice presence, consciousness, mindfulness. Just observe what's happening inside of you at any moment. When it's happening, you'll feel it, you'll breathe into it, you welcome it. You're not trying to change the world. You're not trying to be right. You're seeing it as an opportunity to get your heart free. Eventually, that blockage burns away. It's healed, it's gone. A Course in Miracles says when healing is accomplished, it doesn't have to be repeated. So once that block is clear, there's a new channel there, a new channel of light, a new channel of Shakti that moves through. Eventually, you won't find any more blockages, right? And that's a huge part of the liberation process. So there's 2 components of it. 1, do you know who you are? Are you rooted in spirit? Are you rooted in the seat of your soul? And 2, are all your chakras open and clear? So how do we become superconductors for divine energy while we're still filled with anger, hatred, sadness, grief, guilt, fear, embarrassment, shame? We need that stuff cleared out. Not that you shouldn't feel emotion. The problem is when you felt emotion in the past, you didn't want to feel it and you closed it down. It's important to realize we're suppressing more often than we realize, right? Because we're always trying to find ways to feel better, right? You feel bad. Remember, the heart is what feels emotion, but your mind is a problem-solving intelligence. And the heart is the root of the mind. Whatever this feels, this talks about, because this is going to try to make this feel better. You want to, this is a reminder, in case you know these teachings, to train your mind to, no matter what it says, even deeper, train yourself to observe your mind where it's saying, all right, maybe I could go smoke a cigarette. Maybe I could try some drugs. Maybe I could have some alcohol. Maybe I should go for a walk. Maybe I should find a punching bag. No, just sit on the meditation cushion. Don't move. Breathe, feel, be the observer. And then, because again, you didn't listen to your mind to try to make it better, you gave it to God. The life force energy burns that shock, that sanskar away. Again, a new channel is formed, and that's a huge part of the enlightenment process, so that all the channels are open, every chakra is open and clear. Okay? So the Shakti wants to come up, and when it starts getting to the third eye, your third eye starts opening. You start finding this is a portal into other dimensions. You'll start seeing visions in this space. And tomorrow we can talk more about out-of-body travel. It's not just that you float out of your body, fly around the physical world. You could actually, once you're established in the seat of the soul and the third eye opens, you could float through it. You enter into other dimensions that occupy the same space by going through this portal. So today we focused on the heart, and I said take a breath in and think open, right? And then if something starts coming up, be grateful that it's coming up because it's a chance to clear it. More light will make it through and make it to this point. Eventually, it starts forming that halo shape we talked about a little yesterday, and eventually it starts arching out into that wing shape, and then it's this tube torus that just keeps like this big donut flowing through you. Like think of the Earth's magnetic field. You want to be that open superconductor for divine energy, nothing getting in the way. So again, 2 parts of the enlightenment process to consider. 1, you're established in the knowledge of who you truly are. And 2, there's no more blockages. That state is called sanskar shesh, meaning no more sanskars. I started working with a client recently. We had 2 very powerful sessions, tremendous hurt. I thought this was going to take months to clear all of this. We cleared all of that, and I saw him in the next session just the last week or so. And I said, how are you? He's like, amazing. He said, my mind is 50% quieter than it's ever been. He said, I just feel incredibly good. I'm like, all right, let's do some breath work, see what else is inside of you. He breathed for 40 minutes, and all he felt was just joy. He was just feeling wonderful. And he said, is this what it's like? I said, I'm sure you still have other blocks, but you're experiencing sanskar shesh. A moment where no matter what you're doing, you can't find anything wrong in the physical, mental, emotional level. Not that physical bodies don't have issues, right? But mentally, emotionally, clear, but even more important, established in the seat of the soul. Okay, so don't suppress, don't act out on feelings. Whenever you feel them, see there's an opportunity to clear blockage inside of you. And again, moksha or liberation, the enlightenment process, happens as the Shakti is making it through to these higher levels. Going into hypnotherapy and more specifically interpersonal relationship skills, I've learned reflective empathic listening. Talking through it with a partner is extremely beneficial. Like Faith and I, when something comes up, it's not like, all right, we're going to separate rooms, we'll go sit and meditate. We work through it together with the intention to always return to love. She says, I tie it in a tiny bow, a nice little bow at the end. Like, all right, are we wrapped up back into a space of peace, love, joy, bliss, oneness? We're back in a space of truth. So my experience is there's a whole nother skill set of how to work in relationship. But let's say you couldn't resolve it because you don't have those skills. Then it's like, all right, look, I don't want us to go to bed upset. So can we just get on the meditation cushion? Either way, or just like, say you have kids and they push your buttons and, all right, you put them to bed and then you go and sit on the couch like, oh God, right? All that feelings there. That's the moment to work on it. Yeah. So you can't always change your kids and make them be how you want them to be all the time, right? They're going to push your buttons. That's what they're designed for. So they push your buttons. Then later, when you have time, just feel what's inside and be like, awesome. Not, oh man, I wish my kids would always behave. Life would always be the way I want it to be. No, cool. Something pushed a button in me. Now I have a chance to clear that. So yeah, it's not always just instantly walking away, but the time you have. So in Sanskrit, in the Yoga Sutras, is what's called the klesh. If you've been through a training, you remember, you may have heard that term. Klesh is that which causes suffering. The first one is avidya klesh. Vidya means knowledge. In Sanskrit means not knowledge. So avidya is, I don't know who I really am. The root cause of all suffering is I don't know who I am, avidya klesh. Avidya is ignorance of the true self. Right? When we don't know who we truly are, then we start suffering from what's called asmita klesh, misidentification with something that we're not. And the something you're not is actually a human being. In A Course in Miracles, all illness, the question was about psychosomatic illness and suffering, all illness arises from level confusion. Level confusion is, I'm the consciousness, this is the body, but I think I'm the thing I'm observing. Right? I'm observing my hands. I'm not the hands, right? If you remove the hands, I'd still be observing what's left, right? It wouldn't be a pleasant way to live, but it wouldn't change the observer, right? So if I'm the observer, but I forget and I think I'm the human, psychosomatic illness starts arising because the mind starts thinking wrong thoughts. You're saying, I'm worthless, I'm weak, I'm powerless, I'm helpless, I'm unlovable, I'm ugly, I'm dirty, I'm shameful. The problem is you're part of the infinite power of God. You're an incredibly creative force. In fact, there's no comparison. There's no other creative force. So when a lost soul starts saying, I'm bad, I'm stupid, I'm useless, I'm unlovable, I'm dirty, I'm disgusting, all those negative beliefs we hold about ourselves when we're in the fallen state, again, the state of avidya klesh, I don't know who I am, asmita klesh, I think I'm a human. When you start having those wrong thoughts about something you're not, it starts manifesting your emotions. Right? I think I'm unlovable, unlikable, unattractive, abandoned and betrayed. I'll always be alone. That doesn't bring joy and bliss and peace, right? That brings hurt and sadness and misery. And that's not so bad in and of itself if the person knew what to do with that energy. The next klesh is called rag klesh. Attachment, clinging, holding on. You hurt me as the human, and I'm angry, even though I know I'm useless, worthless, unlovable, stupid, and bad. You push my button, I don't like you, I'm mad at you, and now I'm holding on to that. And that's called rag klesh. It's suppression. When you do that, you're going to create psychosomatic illness eventually. Because the sanskar tends to close and constrict chakras. When chakras constrict, meridians constrict, ill health develops. So my experience of psychosomatic illness is when we don't know who we are, we think we're a human being. Right? So again, avidya, I don't know who I am. Asmita klesh, I think I'm the human, my identity is human. Rag is I'm holding on to my emotions, or there's what's called dvesh klesh. I always thought if I had a son, I'd name him Dvesh Klesh. Dvesh Klesh. So dvesh is aversion, pushing things away. Right? So don't you dare push my buttons. Right? You make me feel bad. You make my irritable bowel syndrome worse. If you try to stop people from hitting your wounds, it never helps to heal the wounds because you're not letting the energy move through. So my experience of psychosomatic illness is basically, I don't know who I am. I think I'm a body. I have all sorts of negative beliefs and emotions. I don't know what to do with them. I bottle them up inside. I'm feeling anxious for quite often because I don't want to feel what's in there. And I'm feeling depressed because I'm blocking my whole system. And then there's one more klesh called avinyavesh klesh, which is fear of death. That actually starts becoming a big part of psychosomatic illness too. When you think you're a human, you realize bodies die, and you realize, oh, that's when the suffering seems to stop. So we start developing the unconscious death urge. But you are love. You're the healing force that sustains the whole universe. If you are not in your body fully and you're trying to actually escape because you'd kind of rather be dead and not feel all this pain, both actions cause psychosomatic illness and more suffering. Suppressing what's there, closing it down, blocks chakras, keeps, it causes stagnation. In Chinese medicine, basically like the liver qi is meant to disperse the healthy flow of blood and energy through the body. You suppress your anger, you usually lock it up in the third chakra, in this whole region. Client I was just working with, pancreatic cancer and liver, and metastasized the liver. Right. The spleen, stomach, pancreas deals with overthinking, worry, rumination, obsessing over things you're upset about. And then the liver quite often deals with the anger that goes with it. When you block all that, it causes stagnation, and the stagnation can start manifesting as cancer. So that's been my experience of psychosomatic illness. How do we heal it? Breath work is incredible. Most of you know how to do that now. You start having the client breathe. It pushes. So Teresa's question, like, can I look for stuff? Just do breath work, and most of the time it's going to show you your next layer. Right? It brings the stuff up, and then if you just observe, and with hypnotherapy we can heal it, clear it much faster. Once the channel's cleared, you'll never, when you clear all your sanskars, you could never have psychosomatic illness. You could have illness, you could get hit by a truck, you could drink poison by accident, like, it's a body. The Buddha died of eating poisonous mushrooms, right? It is a body. But the Buddha had a lot of pain in his body, but in deep samadhi, he said that was the only way to be free of that pain. just deep, deep, deep meditation. So anyway, of course, the body could get sick. Great saints get sick. Ramakrishna died of throat cancer. Ramana Maharshi died of a very painful cancer of his elbow. Mayor Baba was in 2 horrible car accidents, spent the rest of his life in terrible pain. Bodies can feel pain, but the suffering is resistance to what is.